Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the BNI Partners In Excellence show. I'm Andy, and today I have with me John Lloyd with Fidelis Private Fund. John, thanks for coming to the show.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah.
This has been a cool adventure for me, being able to kind of host everyone in the chapter coming through, and I'm finally glad to have you here too.
Awesome.
So thanks. I know that we've been learning a lot more about what the fund is and all that. So I want to make a little bit of a stop there and kind of talk a little how that came into your life, and then you share a lot of business knowledge that maybe some people aren't aware that you share in like social space now, business knowledge, but also personal knowledge and wisdom. So I want to talk about some of that stuff. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
This episode has been brought to you by Comfort City Mechanical Inc. Comfort City Mechanical Inc. for all your HVAC needs. Just kidding. Frank is not really sponsoring the show, but I had to shout out Frank. He brought this like tumbler for me. He's like, "Hey, you got to put this on the show because you keep using your own mug," which I do. Thank you for noticing. I use my own branded mug, but isn't this cool?
Yeah,
it's like tall. It fits in like my cup holder, so like it's
perfect size.
Usually, like you get a big volume kind of container, and it's like, oh, it's too wide, it doesn't fit and things. So I think Frank did this one right. It's like 24 ounces, and it fits in the cup holder.
Awesome.
It also means I have an old car. Like new cars have big old fat cup holders, and I got an old car. So thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. So John, it's been BNI's kind of a newer thing, or at least for you and me, you coming to BNI. But I know that your past, you had managed funds before you launched Fidelis. And I know you talk about relationships a lot. And then, of course, in BNI, we talk about givers gain and relationships, or the cultivation, all that. So let's kind of start there. Like, where did your career start in private money lending? How did that even begin?
I've always been interested in real estate, graduated in accounting, and I just landed in banking initially because when I wanted to get into real estate lending. So that was a good spot. And I landed at a bank here in San Diego and got training and did construction lending and worked in the commercial bank for about 15 years. Just got tired of just the traditional lending approach and got out as an entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, and I just had the opportunity to jump from the bank into the private space of lending. And since then, I've been real estate mortgage broker, managed a fund from 2006 to 2019, similar to the Fidelis private fund. Started that with some partners in 2019, and we're going to hit $100 million in capital probably this year. So.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, and you don't know this, but you're like single-handedly debunking something I've said for I don't know how many decades that my family had been in mortgage. Was like, no one goes to school to end up being in mortgage and real estate. And you're saying, no, I went to school for finance.
I've always wanted to be in real estate. And it just. As a developer, I love the financing end of it, structuring deals, making deals happen. From the financing is the most crucial part of a deal to get it done, and it's great to be a part of that to make things happen.
So okay, when did you recognize that this is like a pursuit? Were you 8 years old playing with a calculator somewhere, and you're like, I want to do this for a living, or when did this like come upon you?
I think when I was in high school, I was just looking at, I always looked at the paper, the real estate for sale, and looked at properties and, if I could rent this property and just looking at the numbers. And then, I didn't have the capital to really acquire properties at the time, but just the idea of wanting to be involved in it and the financing of it and the accounting and was a great background to get into banking, and just that's where I sort of
Who was doing that around you? Like, was someone doing that around you? Like, was that being modeled like by your?
No.
Usually there's something there, like, my grandfather or aunt, uncle, someone either owned a business or had real estate or rental. Like, there's usually some periphery element that's influencing that. But you're saying no, it's just looking at the paper.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a couple, not immediate family, some, maybe some people I looked up to in the community that were involved, but no direct influence other than just my observation of them.
Got it. Okay. So 2006 to 2019, you're working for a fund, and is that fund kind of similar? I know the nature of the work sounds similar, but is the size of that fund kind of where you're going to? I don't know how big that fund was.
Yeah, I mean, when I started in the fund, it was about $30 million. When I left, it was about $190 million. So
wow.
So I grew the fund and then was able to start my own with some partners and yeah, we started with zero. I mean, just our own capital, and now we're pushing over 200 limited partner investors and 100 million we'll probably hit in capital this year.
That's amazing. That's really amazing. I know. I mean, it was not too long ago you were saying the number 80 and then 75 right before that. It's like, whoa, okay, you're just chomping them down, man.
And we're not trying to grow bigger. It's just we're organically growing and accommodating our clients' needs. And it's not, do I want to get bigger? No, not. I mean, it's the bigger we get, the more people we're going to help. And I think that's sort of where we're at. We're helping people, and the more capital we have, we can help more people.
So talk to me, because you mentioned the organic element to that, and there's some of that happens in BNI too, and that's kind of why I brought up kind of that merger of this like business and networking and relationships thing, because I know that plays a really big part. I mean, you're talking about people investing. You're talking about accredited investors that have a net worth of $1 million outside of their residential real estate or real estate holdings, that they can give that money and invest it. And be qualified to invest it, if you will. Like, that takes a lot of trust. And then even for them to consider doing that, I would imagine there's a relationship between that person and you. Someone knows that you're trustworthy, and my friend over here has got this money. Like, someone isn't playing a matchmaker in that. So talk to me about how that's like, how you have recognized that, of course, but then how you've used that and helped even in the previous fund and in the one you're running now.
Yeah, I mean, just bottom line, trust is everything. And I think the trust level that I've built with my clients over the years, and the history, and just being able to have gone through the cycles that we've been through and survived them with no losses, is with a pretty much of an impeccable track record, adds a lot of trust. And when you build that trust over time, it helps, and I think your point about trust is it's all about trust.
So if you were to guess, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but if you were to guess how many of the investors that are investing in Fidelis now came from another investor that's already in Fidelis, is it like 98%, 80%, like 100%?
You mean, are there the repeat?
Like when you're growing and you have you're adding to your fund, going from 75 to 80 million to 100 million. Yeah. How many of those new investors coming in are directly connected to someone already in Fidelis?
They're all somehow connected.
Yeah.
So rarely do I get somebody who has just done research on funds and we're listed and they pick us and they choose us. It's all based on relationship. Do they know of somebody in the fund? They've heard of us through somebody else. It's easy to raise capital initially from your closest people of influence, and then once you get outside the second circle, it's a little easier, and the third, it's not quite as easy. When you get, so and so heard of you, they were friends of so and so who knows you.
That second, third, fourth is much more rare than the just, I know this person one AB.
But it's like a snowball rolling down the hill. It gets bigger and bigger and more of those people are talking to more people, and but it's all relationship.
Yeah.
It's not, we don't, get people just randomly choosing us to invest in.
So what is something that you think, having been in this line of work for so long, what is something that you just know is true because it's true, and it's true time and time again when it comes to either building trust or fostering relationships? What's just a bastion of truth that you can always rely on?
I just think, my gut feel for a deal and who I'm dealing with. I think I can usually rely on that. When things have gone wrong, it's when I've deviated from that and thought, the circumstances, look better. You're so secured on this property, but I didn't have a good feel about the person or whatever. Those are the times but when I go with my gut feel, usually it's the best decision.
Interesting. I don't. Maybe this is just me. I'm not sure, but it could be others that might be watching and would raise their hand in the comments and admit it's them too. But I would suspect that there's like a heavy dose of like, well, if it pencils out on paper, it just pencils out because it pencils out. But what you're saying is not that. It's like, yeah, it has to pencil out on paper, but also more of a higher priority or a higher sense of whether it's going to work or not is just your general feel for it.
Yeah, I
Your
mean,
general feel for it.
It's a given. The property has to have equity when you make a loan, and there's some givens in there, but it's those intangible things that are difficult to comprehend or see that I think that if I ask that question of what can I rely on, it's my gut feel for deals once I've been past the basic requirements of a deal.
Yeah. So what is something that you there's both sides of this question. What is something you tried before that you're like, I will never try that again? And then something that you have tried that worked that I'll do this every single time and twice on Sunday. I'm not asking for admission of failure. Like I've tried things before. I'm like, oh, that didn't work. Yeah. Well, okay, no harm, but there's no harm, no foul kind of thing.
Man, I don't know as far as business goes or just talking
anything. Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, let's jump right to the evidence of success then. Like where are you finding your most success when operating the fund? Is that by these relationships? Is it by there being a plethora of properties within San Diego that need this type of financing? There's like a demand element of that. Is it just you? Like it's okay. And I think this is something that maybe we don't want to admit as business people, especially as givers gain people, is sometimes I don't want to admit that like, yeah, it works because it's me. Like, but there's sometimes where that it does work because it's you. Because it was someone else, it may not actually work. It may not actually go the way that you would think or hope.
Yeah, I think it's just treating people the way you'd like to be treated, and if you can't do it, you tell them. And if I think just being upfront, honest, and if they can rely on you, you do what you say you're going to do. That's probably been my biggest source of success is just being humble and being, hey, when you don't know it, you don't know it, and not trying to, mask that you do. Just be upfront and tell them, and you can find out the information and look into it, but just don't tell them upfront that you know it when you don't.
So no making stuff up, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't make stuff up. It's interesting to me how, not interesting, well, whatever. It's interesting that so many of the things when I have these conversations with people, when we talk about either business best practices or what generates success or repeated success, it has like this through line that goes all the way to like core character things we've been taught when we were kids. Like tell the truth. Don't cheat. Yeah. Try work hard. Finish what you start. All these kind of, what are they called? Idioms? Not idioms, but they're just like these kind of sayings that we get, raised with, and they end up just prevailing, when you're 30s and 40s and 50s. Like, wow, that's all still true. And it's true inside business, even though it was told to you as a character thing.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of this kind of, I'm going somewhere with this, because you do a lot of short form vertical videos that I love. I see them on Instagram and I see them on YouTube Shorts, and it's you in this like really scenic background, this beautiful place that immediately I'm like, oh yeah, John was like, I'll be out of town this weekend. And then like this video shows up a couple days later. I'm like, that's where he was, man. He said he'd be going. I don't remember him asking if I want to go to that beautiful mountain snowy place. I'm just kidding. But I'm like, but you have like this very approachable, welcoming, short, concise message. Like why are you doing those? I love them. Yeah. Why are you doing them? You don't need to be doing these.
No, I know they don't have anything to do with Fidelis, but indirectly they do. It's because it's who I am, and I'm behind Fidelis, and I think it gives people an into who I am, what I do when I'm not in the office, and just a little perspective of who I am. And so I think I love to help people, and when I listen to podcasts, read books, and when I hear a one-liner, I'm like, that would be something I could talk to people about, or that's something I could share with somebody. And so I'd just take note of that and then come back and make a short little 1-minute video. And then when I'm out, whether it's running on a mountain or on, going to Indian Wells to watch a tennis tournament or wherever I'm at, I I'll just make use of it. And I just think there's more to life than just working. And I just I love what I do. And they're intertwined, and
kind of like a hand in glove kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not black or white. It's like, you're working and now you're on vacation. I'm sort of working all the time, but I take vacations all the time too. I work but it's not black or white. It's just,
yeah.
It's like retirement. Retirement is like, I think that's where it's sort of a false idea
where dreams go to die.
Yeah, it's like, if you love what you do, you never
work. If you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I think is how I've heard it. So I heard one recently that. Well, I have a follow-up question, but okay, I'll tell you the thing first. So there's this one I heard recently, and I think I'd heard it before because it sounded really familiar, but it's real simple. It's just success leaves clues. Like success leaves clues. And if you can look for things that are in the market or successful or in life are successful or even creating legacy and something to leave behind people, there's like this success breadcrumbs. Are you thinking of these things when you're making these videos that I see after the fact? Like, do you already have these thoughts locked in and then you happen to be at the place and you're like, cool, unlock thought and say it here in this beautiful scenic place? Or are you doing these kind of like off the cuff where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in the middle of this vast expanse and it's beautiful out here and I'm going to make a point about, taking time to slow down and enjoy the better things of life?
Both ways. Like, I made a video of skiing up in Mammoth and I took some videos and this would be a good one, So I take the video. Oftentimes I'll have the idea prior to, sometimes it goes the other way. But in this case, I had the idea, went up, took some videos, put it, together. And then I thought, well, I can relate this to Fidelis. And this week you're going to see another video, a clip of that's like taking skiing down a mountain and relating that to navigating navigating the slopes is like navigating the market. And there's curves and there's terrain and there's ups and downs and you got to be able to get around those. And so I just weave those type of things into business sometimes. And it's just fun to do. It's a creative way to express not only what my passion is to help people, but also my business to provide people with an investment opportunity to provide a good return for their money and be well secured.
Well, I have to tell you, you do it with such confidence, and it looks like you do it with such ease too. So I have to compliment you because I don't know if you struggle making these or not, or if you struggle trying to deliver your message or not. But it just looks like you do this with great ease.
No.
Okay,
to tell you the truth, it's like, when I first started doing these, it's like, I'm like to myself, it's as one of those listen to that voice inside that says, you need to do these videos. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do those videos. I'm not good at it. And it's like, no, you need to do them. And so I'm like, okay. And so you step out, it's uncomfortable, you do it, and you get better at it. And you just do what you're called to do, whether you think it's comfortable or not. And that's what I believe.
So it also seems, and again, I have to compliment you on this, it doesn't seem that you're like intentionally following like a rigid like scheduling system, like, oh, I have to say something influencing on Thursday every week. I just feel like you have all these things. Like, are you just sitting on like a treasure trove of like quips of wisdom?
Well, I just jot down notes, like I said, like this. Just if it's an inspiration, I hear it from things. I just don't think of all these things on my own. I read books and I hear tad bits of wisdom that I can gather from someone, and then I just sometimes relate it to my own. Add some personal stuff in there, and yeah, I do have an arsenal of these ideas. I just choose the best ones, and I'm always out. I'll think of it, and I always have them ready to deliver wherever I'm at. So I just sort of have a backlog of ideas. And then if I'm, this last week I was going to the Grand Canyon, I just have those ready to go. And those times I can do a video or I'm on a run or a hike or whatever.
That's super cool. So I often contend with people that you're doing the content every day, it's just not being filmed. Like when you're out working or you're learning something, or even if you're in the middle of a situation where you're being challenged or there's pressure or whatever, like that's all content. If you go to the internet right now, you can witness videos of people and the very furthest extreme, from like losing their crap to the highest high extreme celebratory type of thing and everything in between. And so, but it's a reflection of like real life that's happening. There's just a percentage of people that are sharing it that way. And so I've like contended for a long time now, especially since we do all this, is, the content's being made constantly. It's just whether or not you're capturing it and then sharing it after that. Then, because you have a catalog of these ideas, or you are learning so many and you're kind of creating your arsenal, to use your term, of things you can share, then it kind of does fit into a system where even if it's not intentional that you're like, oh, I have to do it, all this, like it's good to keep yourself to a system as long as you're not sacrificing, I think, your standard and what you would want to say is share worthy. So I'm glad that you do that, and because you kind of embody my point to people. Because I don't think you're also doing it to try to get like Insta famous and be a follower with, or an influencer with 20 million followers. Like you're not doing it for that reason, right?
I mean, I don't even look at who. I don't even look at the reviews. I don't look at how many people look at. Am I doing this for the right reason? If somebody's impacted one person, that's all that matters. And I think the fear factor that people have in not doing stuff is the main prohibitor to their success, is fear. And I think once you can get over that, and I think that's where, fear of just failure, fear of stepping out and, oh, this isn't going to look good, or I'm not going to look good in front of the camera. People miss those opportunities of, they could be much more successful if they would step out and embrace the uncomfortable zone, so to speak.
This just in, John's going to be our new salesperson for onboarding clients who are having those exact same problems. I'm just kidding. Hired on the spot. You didn't know this was an interview, did you? No. One of my favorite quotes that is just true because it's true is, fear kills more dreams than failure ever will. And I wish I could credit the person who said it because I say it often enough, but I just, as I've become older and, more long in the tooth, like they say, and another year in business and another year in business and another year being an entrepreneur, it's like fear just kills so much stuff because of all these things that we put ahead of doing the thing we're supposed to do. And it usually has to do with how other people are going to react, and they probably don't even care. No, and they don't care. They're worried about themselves. They're trying to go to the internet and find an answer to a problem they have, or learn something that's going to make something easier for their life. They're either trying to avoid some pain or gain some solution. I don't care if your part's weird or you know what I'm saying? Like, I just love, I love your attitude about that. Thank you for being a good example.
I think it's great if people would just step out and get in front of the camera and just really be vulnerable, which is key. People get to know you. The more they get to know you, the more they're going to buy whatever you're selling. The more your business is going to be successful, the more they know about who's behind it.
Did you have to like overcome some vulnerability obstacle?
I think the fear factor was the biggest thing, of just failure and really staying out of the limelight. And just my personality is one of, I'm just not a gregarious type person.
You're not
chasing
just
naturally.
Fame.
I'm not chasing fame, but I listen to that voice inside, what I'm supposed to be doing. I think if people would be more self-aware of that, do what they're called to do, and not because their parents said it or somebody's doing it. I'm doing this because do what they're called to do, I think, and just get out of the comfort zone. And I don't know, I think personally they're going to benefit, and the outcome is going to be a better business or more success, but just do it for themselves is the most important thing.
I love that. I love that because it kind of reveals that there's a motivator behind all the things you're doing for a purpose, and also for like leaving something behind. Is that true? Like, are you trying to like carve out a legacy to leave behind intentionally, or is it just becoming a byproduct of the actions you're taking?
No, I'm not trying to leave a name or try. Really, it's just if I can help somebody and having a purpose rather than just existing. So many people just exist and go to work. They do the routine. I don't know. I just want to have more of a purpose in life. And if I can help somebody, and whether somebody remembers me or not, doesn't matter. People don't realize that nobody's going to remember any of us 3 generations down. People don't even know their great-great-grandparents. They're gone. As far as memory, you're not going to remember us unless we're, somebody like Abraham Lincoln or somebody. They might, but other than that, I don't know. I just don't. It's just what can we do in the present, and how can we live the best that we can in our potential right now.
Yeah. I think something that is fun for me to watch from across the room, if you will, across the room of your life, and also through the screen of your life, is, I see you at BNI every week, and I think if you were to say, if you line up everybody from the most energetic to the, let's say, quietest, you're going to be over here hanging out with more of the quieter people. But seeing you do this sharing of wisdom in a beautiful place, and sharing this knowledge, you're doing this over here where we would commonly expect someone who's very wild and hair on fire like me, kind of, oh duh, yeah, of course he does that, right? Yeah. So I think it's really neat that you do that, and I think it's very important. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you for doing that. I love watching them. I know I said that a minute ago, but I love watching them. I know I've commented a couple times how useful that has been, and I'm glad you share it. I think that we are in this era where even when we do pass and no one remembers us, if all this is still around and standing in the internet, then your voice, your character, the things you espouse, the things you believe can still be learned from, even by people you don't ever know. I was making this point yesterday in a meeting when, someone said to me, I know what we're doing. We're supposed to be doing. I just don't know if it's going to be effective to anybody at all or ever. Now, this comment was made to me about 10 minutes after on a group thread. The same person sent a video to me in a group saying, hey, check out this video, da-da-da-da. So I went to the video, and I was like, well, let's see how long ago this video was posted. And it was posted months ago. Not this morning. It was like a training from months ago. And I said, look, this is why what we're doing matters. Because 4 months ago, the video you just sent me, that's when that one was posted. But it's helping us today with our thing. But over here in the timeline, that's when they made it. So today, the thing we're going to make, it has its own timeline. Someone somewhere at some point is going to need the thing you have to share. So you're not allowed to stop. We're going to go do what we have to do today.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's too forceful or not, John.
That's a good point. I think one other thing, I think it's important that people know they can be themselves. I mean, you said, these people over here are really, there's funny people and they're jokes all the time. And then you have the quiet group. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to be yourself, and to project who you are and not try to be somebody else. I'm not going to try to be some jokester, because that's not who I am.
Right.
I'm just going to be who I am. And the more authentic we present ourselves, the more real and trust people are going to have in us.
That's so awesome. I really love that. And I am going to say this. Well, how old are you?
61.
61. All right. Hold on. There's a point here. This isn't because I'm trying to drag you out and say, hey, John, guys, most people who are in their 50s and 60s don't want to do this. But what I advocate for is the life lessons that are walking around with you all day long that can be taught and shared. I think that's one of the reasons why I just enjoy what you're doing. And I appreciate you saying you don't have to be somebody else. There's this, I was taking this online class not too long ago, and I was watching this one of the pieces of the seminar that was happening, and the example they were using is this granny who cooks in her kitchen. It's just a camera in her kitchen, and she just cooks all the recipes in her book because her whole thing was, I know not everyone has a grandma, so if you don't have a grandma, I'll be your grandma. Today we're going to learn how to make chocolate chip brownie cookies or whatever. I was like, oh, this is brilliant. Not because she's got some book to sell or whatever. She's like, look, I know you may not have a grandma. I love cooking, and I just want to do this. I want to share what I know with somebody. And she has millions of followers, John. Just being herself, regardless of whatever anyone might think, and just sharing what she knows. It's beautiful.
I think sometimes the more narrow we get with our focus, the better. Because, if we're trying to appeal to everybody, I just think you can get, if you focus, dial down into a more detailed segment, you can have more impact. And anyway, that's just my point.
I love it. I'm so satisfied in this part of our conversation. I wanted to ask you, one of the questions I had set up that I want to ask you is, what gives you the most gratification in what you do? Because I'm on the receiving end of some of the effort you make to create content. But that's not like your job. Your job isn't a content creator. Your job is to fund these projects and manage the fund and then raise capital. So what's something in the mix of all the things you do, what's something that really gives you gratification?
I think when somebody can call and say, John, you really encouraged me today. That the message that I was speaking, whether it's my inspirational message or, it could be financially, John, you really made a difference in my life with financing this deal. Or you're providing me the fixed income I need in retirement through this fund. And I just am so thankful for that. And to hear people say that is the most gratifying thing, whether it's on the personal coaching, motivational side or the finance side. So that's why I think they're weaved in. They're like a tapestry. It's not like one or the other. That's why they're just woven together.
That's so cool. Do you have a moment that stands out to you where, like, either a business accomplishment or a milestone that you're just like super proud of that you don't maybe talk about a lot or get asked about?
I mean, in the business side, just, starting a fund from nothing, in 5 months from when I left my other fund, I started Fidelis and up and running, SEC private offering in 5 months is pretty much incredible.
I need you to put that into context for people that don't understand how fast that is.
Yeah. I mean, it takes, and we did it, and we were making loans with, and anyways, within 6 months we were in business after not even the idea was just not even thought of. So I think that's probably an accomplishment. And I think on the non-business side and building the fund to where we are now in this quick a time, and then just, God's blessed me with good health and being able to run and enjoy the outdoors. And that's been a real, be able to do the runs I've done, the ultra marathons and the 100-mile run and all those things.
That's sort so of crazy.
That's sort of, again, thankful more than anything.
100-mile run? I don't like driving 100 miles. What are you talking about a 100-mile run for? What?
Well, that's just, I don't know. God's given me the ability to, I guess part of it is just the endurance part. I think older you get, that's why you see in these ultra marathons, the people are in their 40s. The best runners are the older runners because it's not speed, it's endurance. And the young runners they burn out or they just don't have the capacity to endure the pain and they give up. Where I think the older you get, the more wisdom you get. I don't know if you say it's wise in running 100 miles, but
a little bit of oxymoron, right?
But just the ability to, it's that long-term perspective where you get with age, I think.
Wow, there's some grit in there, man.
Yeah,
that's a lot. I mean, I like running 3 to 5 miles. I feel very comfortable there. Actually, hold on. Let me be a little more candid. When I have worked myself back to that, I feel very comfortable at 3, 5, and then maybe every once in a while I'll go like 7 or 8. But that's like long once in a while. The problem is I start and stop my seasons of running. Like, I'll run, and I'm in a season of running, and for like several months, 3, 6, 9 months, I'll run regularly a couple times a week, stretching out my miles, or then doing the same miles but with reduced time. and I love it. It's very therapeutic for me. But then my body starts going, hey, you don't feel good. Like foot start hurting. I had 2 compression fractures and didn't know it, and I just kept running. And then one day I was like walking, and I just like collapsed, like someone like the what's it called, the puppet with the marionette, like someone just cut the thing, and my body just I just like hit the ground, I fell in the dirt. And my friend was like, ha ha ha, he was like laughing at me because he thought I was doing it on purpose for like a gag. Like, and no, I fell, like I'm completely lost power in my legs. Turns out I had 2 compression fractures in my back, and so I was just like stubbornly running through the discomfort, which it turned out to be two vertebrae screaming at me.
Sometimes people like think, oh, they got to do it's all or nothing, and I think that's where, if for me, I don't run all the time. I mean, I do other things. I do Pilates, yoga, tennis, hiking, running. I think it's that different, using your body and listening. I've had injuries on my feet, my foot, and my and you just got to take a break and do something else, and know it's okay. Because some people, I'm not running anymore, and then they give up. But I think if they just were able to look at, what they can do at the time.
Yeah, agility and mobility seem. I mean, everyone. I shouldn't say everyone. It's well known now. Like that, as you're getting older, and even as I'm getting older, I'm like, I need to continue stretching more. And I'm admitting I don't do that regularly enough. But like when I do stretch regularly, I feel so good. I feel so much better. And then you talk to people who have done that, or you talk to someone who's in like their late 80s and even their 90s. Like, wow, you have such great vitality. Like, I stretch every day. Like that's like the thing right away. They don't say, oh, I ran 40 miles last week. Or they're like, oh, I stretch every day.
Because I can go out. I'm going to do this weekend. I'm doing a 25K, and that's about 14, 15 miles trail running and I don't have to train. I don't have to go out and run 15 miles every day. I'll train, maybe 25 miles a week, and because I'm in a base shape, but it's. People think that I don't know. I just think they overthink things, and
so not everyone's gonna be David Goggins running.
You don't have to.
You got to run 100 miles before the sun comes up. Like, wait, when do I have to start that? How am I gonna do that?
I think consistency is more the biggest thing people I think miss out on is they say, oh, I don't have a full hour and a half to do my workout, so I'm not going to do it. Well, why don't you do 20 minutes? Go in and, yesterday I couldn't do a full workout in the gym, so I went in. I did just some stretching, some push-ups, sit-ups. I did it. I only had 20 minutes, but you know what? I did it and felt okay with it rather than not doing anything at all. And I think that's where it's hard to do sometimes because, I'm not doing my full 7 miles or whatever. Then I'm not, but if they do what they can and be acceptable with that, they're better off.
Before my travel schedule got like kind of crazy here in this time of the year, I had started like rerunning again. And in my mind, I was like, all right, I'm going to go do 3 miles, and then I'll just keep doing 3 for a while. And then I try to go for 4 one day. And I was like, it's not in the tank. So I just walked it.
Yeah,
I just walked it. It took me a little more time, but I was like, I'm just going to walk it. Like my body was just tired, and it wasn't the moment to like mentally pursue or press through that. There's no tape. There's no like a medal I'm going to get at the. I was just like, you know what, 3's got to be good enough. And sometimes, and I really don't like when we tell people that anything less than excellence is unacceptable. Now we are called partners in excellence. I'm not trying to make it about BNI, but like the excellence is the expectation. Excellence is the goal. Excellence is what we would identify ourselves as. But sometimes if you just don't have it, your best is still have to be good enough,
Yeah. Just do the best you can at the time and be okay with it.
Yeah. I think there's exceptions, right? I don't want like the heart surgeon to do his best that he can today. I really need him to be excellent. But in that case, guess what? Like everything around their life promotes that thing. Their sleep, their nutrition, their schooling, their environment, everything. You got to come in early for surgery at 5 a.m. in the morning. They're going to bed at 8 o'clock the night before. They're not staying out drinking till midnight and then coming to your heart surgery at 5. Not happening. They don't do that.
Yeah, because if they didn't feel like it, they would say, no, I'm not coming in. And they would have to be okay with it. It's like, I'm not going to do it today. And that's in a situation where it's sort of you'd want them to do that, but it would be hard for them to do that because, hey, I've never missed one before. I've never missed the surgery I was called to do, and then they just say, no, I can't do it because I'm not in the best of conditions. Those are situations you got to use your wisdom and common sense with,
I think that comes back to that awareness you're talking about earlier. It's like being self-aware of who you are, your limitations,
right.
but your possibilities, and not preventing those things from becoming true. And that vulnerability, like, you know what? Yeah, my best today was 3 miles. Okay, well, who am I disappointing? Nobody. I'm not disappointed. Yeah. I'm running. I'm like, oh man, and like I'm beating myself up, right? And eventually, I was like, you know what? I just can't. My body's telling me no. I'm trying to get back into running. I just healed and did all this physical therapy for my back and then my shoulder, and it's like, I can't rush this because otherwise I'm gonna end up back in PT again, not exercising. Like, I don't qualify PT as exercising. Just moving parts around. So I had to just stop, man, and be like, okay, well, three's good enough today. The fourth one, I'll just walk, and that's fine. It's got to be okay. So I wanted to also ask you today about people who've influenced you. That it's to me, it changes depending on the generation you ask, and also their upbringing. So sometimes the people inspire people I interview are the family member, like the grandfather or the aunt and uncle, or someone who just was like a real impact. And then sometimes it's a figure, like a historical figure. Who would you say has been an influence in your life?
Oh, I think just from a work ethic, my dad was a hard worker, so that was promoted that. And then one of my first bosses at the bank was an extremely talented but hard working driver of a leader, and he really inspired me to, do things in the morning, get in early. I'd be in it, thinking I'm, coming in early at 7:00, and he's like, John, I've been here for 2 hours and done more than you're going to be doing pretty much most of the day. He's just sort of, and I'm like, I just had never seen that type of work ethic coming out of college, and like first job is like, whoa, is this, what I'm going to have to be doing, but he instilled with me, me some real good morning routines. And then I think just mentor, I've been sort of in a coaching mentorship group for the last almost 10 years, and the leader's like 87 years old.
What?
And he meets with, he's a consultant. He meets with people. He speaks at different, he's just a motivation for me because, he's like, just a couple months ago, he's like, I think I have an announcement to make in the group. And I'm thinking, oh, he's going to retire. And he's like, he comes in and he's like, you know what? I'm reinventing myself. And I'm like, he goes, I think we're gonna change things up, and here's what we're gonna be doing this next phase, And he goes, as long as I'm able to give you guys value and I receive value from doing this, I'm gonna do it, and I'm not gonna. He's just inspiring. So that was inspiring as I get older to look at life and not the years of doing, retiring, doing nothing, but how can I give back? And this guy is doing that, and it was just inspiration for me.
87?
Yeah. And he's just reinventing himself. I mean, he's...
Yeah, no, I know.
Like,
that's why my shock. Like, yeah. 87, going, I have an announcement. You immediately go, oh, he's probably about to tell us. He's going to phase this thing out. Yeah. I'm reinventing. Wait a minute. Starting over or starting something new? Yeah. Okay.
So here's what we're going to be doing in this group. And it's a group of CEOs that we meet, we every month, and we one-on-one coaching, and we bounce ideas, both personal, business, how to help each other. And so it's really helped me as far as growing and helping with my business and personally, just in growing personally.
That's amazing. So how long have you been in this group?
Almost 10 years, yeah.
Are they accepting new members? No, hey, how do I work myself into that, John? I love sage wisdom like that. Yeah. Because I think there's some things that are there, and I had kind of alluded to this earlier. It's like I think there's just some things that are true because they're true, and they're just always going to be true. And a lot of times what I've experienced is that people who have made it to 60, 70, 80, and they've been in business for 30, 40, 50 years. Like there's kind of these conclusive things that are just always going to be true about certain facets of life. And I love learning those things because I feel like they're cheat codes. And not because we're cheating it, but it's like, I don't need to go through this labyrinth of figuring it out. I can just jump right to what this dude who's 87 is telling me is going to work. I can just go right to that. I don't know if you share that same appreciation like I do. I just love it.
Yeah, totally.
It's something that I also hope that my curiosity in that is something that like my girls see, and that they also can eventually, be curious enough to like help to avoid some of those labyrinths, I guess, that I'm metaphorically using to just get to what's going to work. So, I guess what I was going to ask about this is that you seem to have a good balance of your capacity. I'm not sure if that's true or not, because you talk. I'm learning. You have these things you do outside of work for yourself personally and physically, and sports and fitness, and then you have like this mentoring group you go to once a month. Okay, you come to BNI once a week with us. You take these trips. You do these races. You have your fund. You're fundraising for. You have deals. The next question is, do you sleep?
Yes, I do. I mean, I utilize my time in my highest zones of productivity, and so I get the most bang out of my buck, so to speak, in the morning. So I'm up at 5 every day, and for 2 hours, I pretty much focus on making things, whether it's making things happen as far as structuring a deal, writing content, so anything that takes focus. So I think I get a lot out of the time I spend early when everybody else isn't working. I'm able to focus and get stuff done. That's helped me balance things out more. And if I can't get it done, I can't get it done. And I just know, because I could work 24/7 and you still don't get it all done. And I think it's as I get older, it's hard to leave stuff on the table, so to speak, and like, gee, I just didn't get that done today. I wish but be okay with it. And I think, have I done better than I did yesterday? And I think the focus for me is if I increase 1% more than I did yesterday, that's a win. And I just keep doing that, and it compounds. But I can't do, I don't get, you see me out in videos and what I'm doing, and I'm raising capital and making loans and doing this stuff, but it's, I don't get it all done, but I do everything, and I'm okay with it.
But the thing that strikes me, though, or that is apparent to me, is that you're not scurrying around doing all these things. You're mentioning you're making the highest and best use of your productivity. Yeah, okay, maybe you're starting earlier in the day than most people. You're starting at 5. So how are you so calm and collected through having all that to do? And you're saying still there's some left on the table that's not done. Am I just a basket case? Is that
time.
what you can say that if that's the answer? Andy, you're just a basket case.
I wasn't always like that. I was like frustrated and, driving harder. And I look back and I could have spent more time with my family back in the day, thinking, I got to get it all done. Where now I'm much more relaxed and I am okay with it if I didn't get everything done. And today, I'm not going to sacrifice not getting my health is not going to be sacrificed by doing more work. And like this afternoon, I don't care how many appointments I have, I'm going to go do something that's healthy for me. Whether that's go for a run or go to the gym or Pilates or whatever. And I'm okay with it. And that's just the way it is. And I think just living with that, but doing your best and have your priorities, and health is a priority. So for me.
I love it. You without being so loud about it, you demonstrate dedication, like in all the things that you're talking about right now. And because I see these things, or let's say if I don't see them directly, I'm aware enough. I'm like, I know you got to have your crap together to be able to do all the things I see you doing, or that you're sharing you're doing, and it not be like a mad race, a dash to the finish line every single day. And sometimes I'm feeling that way, like, man, I've got to hustle to get all this stuff done, otherwise it's not going to get done. And sometimes it not being done is okay. And sometimes I'm like, well, I actually got to hit that deadline, or I'm going to be leaving town. I have to have this done before I leave because I won't be able to do it when I'm there and it's due then. So I some of those constraints are kind of still like on me. But as I migrate towards the second half of my life, as I've been saying, I'm really trying to be better at that, because part of that for me is training my daughter, Caitlin, who's filming the show right now. And she's starting to cut shows and actually like produce the stuff that we're recording here together. And that allows me to go do some more of that highest and best things for growing the company as a whole. Because the work is still just as important, but it doesn't need to be done by me. Not all the work needs to be done by me. And me trying to do everything all the time, everywhere, it doesn't work. And I've crashed and burned that way before in the past, and I cannot afford to do that right now in my life. Or again, not right now. Like I could do it later. I can afford to crash and burn later. No, I can't afford to crash and burn at all. Yeah. So I just appreciate the example that you set. Even if I haven't said that to you as directly as I'm saying it now, I really appreciate that example. So I wanted to honor you by telling you that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I sincerely appreciate it.
Well, it goes both ways. I see the value you add to our BNI group and your just consistency and accountability. You enforce in our group. I love it.
I love you're so delicate in the way you're saying that. Yeah. The accountability you enforce. Yeah. No, I really want BNI to work for everybody. I really do. And part of me saying like I think things are just true because they're true, and you get older and they're true, is because like I just know things are true in BNI too. It's like when you do these things, eventually this thing happens. It's like you put the input here, the output shows up. It might be tomorrow, it could be a week, a month, a quarter, or half a year. It's gonna show up though. But don't tell me, oh, it didn't show up and you didn't put the input in. Like that's the disconnect. And I've just done it for so long, and I've made plenty of mistakes too. I made things that I thought, oh well, I'm gonna do it this way, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna try. I've got some new novel approach. No, I don't. It's relationships. It's trust. It's time in those things, and then doing what you are exceptional at the time you're called upon to do it. Really, kind of just distills down to that. So, I really do love it, and I've really loved being able to do this with everybody to give them a crack at sharing the story and being on camera and being comfortable, which you obviously are.
I just want to just point out I appreciate you and your business, what you add and how you help people, and just being able to offer some of the services you provide our group, and I just think you're a huge added value to BNI.
Well, thank you, John. I appreciate it. I get a lot of gratification out of BNI, and I'm also excited that some of the things we're doing in Partners in Excellence I'm hoping can help pioneer things for other people in the area, and where that really can actually translate to actual value for people money-wise is in certain classifications that are unique. That every chapter has a mortgage person, every chapter has like a property casualty person or a realtor. Not every chapter has a hard money lender, a private bridge financing company. There's some things I think that are ultimately going to help raise up some opportunities for everyone who is kind of in those kind of classifications too. So there's like the mostly occupied classifications, and then there's like the, oh wow, that one thing's really unique. There's only one or two those whole one or two people in the entire county that do that thing in BNI. So I'm hoping that some of the things we're pioneering here in the show and having a show even and sharing on social media will create some opportunities for everybody. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I'm down to my last two back-to-back questions, so we can go to the end of the show. But the first one I like to ask is, if I hand you a microphone and you're in front of 100,000 people in an arena or a sports stadium, you get to say thank you to somebody. Who are you thanking?
I would say my mom. She just, as far as just her dedication to our well-being as growing up, and I would say her. Just spiritually, she really was there, and my mom.
That's awesome. And then dead or alive is my Larry King question. Dead or alive, who would you want to share a meal with?
Dead or alive, that's a good question.
Yeah. So you could pick anybody. You mentioned Abe Lincoln earlier in a previous conversation, just for, people were going to.
Well, what's coming to mind, I'm reading this book called Undaunted Courage, and it's Lewis and Clark's voyage, and it's a lot of their journals. And I would love to sit and have dinner with those guys and just talk to them about this trip, because it's an incredible adventure they took, and that's just on top of my mind right now because I'm reading this book, and I was just wondering about just some of the things I had questions when I'm just reading it. But
that's a really good one. You could talk to them about some of their 100-mile expeditions
just
concurrently.
The things that they had to endure were just beyond belief. And I think talk about endurance and talk about courage, and they had it. And anyways, that just came to mind.
That's a cool one. Sometimes when we're on like a car trip or something, I think to myself, people used to traverse this on foot or with a wagon behind a horse or a cow or something. Like I like go back in time and go, could I have done that? And I guess if there's no other alternative, it's just the way but you look back and you go, man, we have so many modern conveniences that some of these things are just, they're treacherous, and that is like not even a good enough word to use for it, but it's the best word that we have for it is treachery. And I don't know. I'd like to think I would do it, but I know what I know now, so I'm not sure that I could.
But yeah, I mean, just the preparation it took to do this trip, and
of course,
anyways, it sort of really applies to life, because you got to prepare and you got to account for all the uncertainties, and you got to be dialed in with the right people on board. And they really chose their group very slowly and decisively on who's going to be on this trip. And it just shows sort of a life lesson too.
Wow. Yeah. Who are you going to take with you and why, right? Yeah. Wow. That's really neat. We need to end there. I'm not going to say anything else that's useful at this point. John, thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been awesome. I'm so glad to have you in Partners in Excellence, and I'm so glad that you joined me today to be on our little YouTube show we got going. If you'd like to network with John and myself, you can catch us every Wednesday down at the Chula Vista Golf Course on Bonita Road. That's 4475 Bonita Road at 7 a.m. Open networking starts at 6:45 in the morning. We'll be there. You'll catch us there. Open networking at 6:45. Meeting starts at 7. You can register for an upcoming meeting by clicking in the link in the description box below. Put your name, your contact information, and your business. We'd love to have you and get to know you better. Thanks so much for watching the BNI Partners Excellence Show. John, thanks again for being here today. And we'll see you again with another great guest next week.